Chasers! Welcome back to another episode of the Chasers channel, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of business and finance and bring you expert advice to help you make informed decisions that bring you closer to achieving the dreams you are chasing. Today's episode is about the common mistakes when claiming clothing expenses for work. I'm your host, Chris Becks, a financial and business advisor with over 40 years' experience and the founder of the multi-award-winning CBEX Business Solutions for Good. As this is an accounting and tax topic, and as a member of CPA Australia and a registered tax agent, I'm obliged to give you this general advice disclaimer before we begin.
The advice provided is general advice only, as in preparing it, we did not take into account your investment objectives, financial situation, or particular needs. Before making an investment decision on the basis of this advice, you should consider how appropriate the advice is to your particular investment needs and objectives. You should also consider the tax implications on your financial situation. Chris Becks, CPA member number 805103 and registered tax agent number 629430015, is a director of CBEX Business Solutions for Good and is authorized to provide accounting and tax advice.
Now that is done, let's dive into this episode. As tax time is upon us once again, many taxpayers find themselves uncertain about what they can claim as deductions to minimise their taxable income. One area where mistakes are frequently made is claiming for clothing purchased for work purposes, even if required by the employer. While claiming work-related clothing expenses is allowed under certain circumstances, misunderstanding the rules can lead to potential errors, unwanted tax audits, and the resulting penalties and interest for getting it wrong. Let's look at some common mistakes taxpayers make when claiming clothing expenses and how to avoid them. Mistake number 1: confusing uniforms with everyday clothing. One of the most common errors taxpayers make is claiming everyday clothing as work-related expenses. Generally, the cost of buying or cleaning ordinary clothing worn for work, such as suits, business attire, or casual wear, cannot be claimed, even if your employer expects you to dress a certain way. These items are considered part of your personal wardrobe and are not eligible for tax deductions. Conventional or everyday clothing is not a compulsory uniform, even if your employer requires you to wear it or you pin a name badge to it. Mistake number 2: failure to meet the distinctive test. To claim clothing expenses for a compulsory work uniform, the clothing must be distinctive, unique to your workplace, and not suitable for everyday wear. This means that the clothing must have a logo or design specific to your employer or industry. Many taxpayers mistakenly assume that wearing branded clothing or a company's logo automatically qualifies for a deduction. However, unless it meets the distinctive test, it does not qualify. Mistake number 3, and this is probably one of the most common ones: overlooking the non-compulsory aspect. Even if your employer requires you to wear a particular type of clothing, it is essential to consider whether it is a compulsory uniform or non-compulsory. If your employer merely suggests or recommends a specific dress code without enforcing it as a compulsory uniform, you cannot claim the expenses associated with purchasing or cleaning that clothing. You can't claim for non-compulsory work uniforms unless your employer has registered the design with Oz Industry. This means the uniform is on the Textile Clothing and Footwear Corporate Wear Register, and you wear the uniform at work. Shoes, socks and stockings can never form part of a non-compulsory work uniform. Neither can a single item of clothing such as a jumper. Mistake number 4. Claiming for clothing provided by the employer. Sometimes employers provide clothing or uniforms to their employees. In such cases, taxpayers cannot claim deductions for the cost of those clothing items, even if they are required to wear them at work. Mistake number 5. Claiming for laundry, dry cleaning and repairs. The costs you incur to launder, dry clean or repair clothing you wear at work, even if the clothing is supplied by your employer, are only tax deductible and can be claimed if the clothing is occupation specific and not conventional, it's protective in nature, it is a compulsory uniform, or it is a non-compulsory uniform registered with Oz Industry. This includes expenses incurred at laundromats. You cannot claim if your employer provides laundry services or reimburses you. A reasonable basis for calculating your laundry claim is $1 per load if it only contains work clothing from the eligible categories, or 50 cents per load if personal items are mixed in with work clothing. You can also claim the actual costs incurred for dry cleaning and repairing work-related clothing from those eligible categories mentioned earlier. And mistake number 6, failing to keep proper records. Accurate record keeping is crucial when claiming any work-related expenses, including clothing, the laundry, dry cleaning and repairs of them. The Australian Tax Office may request evidence of your purchases, such as receipts or invoices, to verify your claims. Failing to keep these records can result in your claim being denied, leading to potential penalties or back taxes. Claiming clothing expenses for work purposes can be a beneficial tax deduction if done correctly. However, it is essential to understand and follow the ATO guidelines to avoid common mistakes. Always ensure that the clothing meets the distinctive test and is genuinely required for your work. Keep detailed records of purchases and expenses and seek professional advice if you are unsure about any aspect of claiming work-related clothing expenses. By staying informed and compliant, you can make the most of your eligible tax deductions and avoid potential pitfalls during tax time. Thank you for listening. I'm Chris Becks, and I look forward to presenting our next episode to you. Have a great day.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the Chasers channel, we would love you to share it with your business friends and colleagues, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from CBEX Business Solutions for Good, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CBEX, Instagram at CBEX, and on the internet at cbex.com. Thanks again, and we'll be sharing new info with you on our next episode.